Hello everyone. The topic of our podcast is challenging yourself and doing hard things. Due to the extreme living conditions, especially during the pandemic time, managing work and personal life became very difficult. The uncertainty and insecurities of future and dealing with day-to-day life situations brings huge influence on every one of us. If today we ask any of our friends or colleagues that how they are feeling these days, most probably with huge chances are that they will reply with some version of exhausted. As a human, at a certain point we became tired of operating amid uncertainty. We get tired of balancing childcare with work. We're tired of staffing shortages and supply chain problems. So the question is, how could we make ourselves stronger, and make it easier for us to challenge these hard times in any situation? When we are under such feelings, based on the circumstances, automatically our brains want to save mental energy by directing our focus to the most readily available, recallable information to help us make decisions quickly. We often do this by going with our gut and making our best guess. This is called expediency bias, doing the thing that feels right, or rushing to the judgment, without properly considering all the variables or knowing the complete facts. The brain does this because it is much easier to process existing ideas than new ones. This principle in psychology is called as fluency. It's the reason why if you speak Spanish, it is much easier to learn Italian instead to learn Japanese. Adam Alter, a renowned marketing professor, explained us with an example that many people think that two single-dollar bills are more valuable than a single $2 bill. Even the value is the same, but only the quantity of bills are double. The result is that many of us are naturally inclined to do what simply feels as right or fits to our mindset. Let's think that asking people to come back to the office because our brains can picture it, or making an assumption that everyone wants a 4-day work week. The renowned hedonic principle also comes into play and explained this human behavior more in detail. We are wired to move toward things that make us feel good and away from things that make us feel uncomfortable. Our brains tag effort as bad because it's hard work. They default to what feels normal, the networks that tell us where and how to travel through our daily existence. Those networks are so deep in our thinking that when we are going through a new and challenging path or experience a challenging situation, regardless of what that path is, our wheels always default back to the worn grooves. In simple words, we prefer to come back to our routines rather than living with the new learnings and adopting this new way of living or working. And yet, we know specifically these hard actions can have tremendous benefits to us. Might be the benefits may not be visible for some time. Let us take it to your personal sphere. Think about starting any healthier routine which you hesitate to adapt or practice. Maybe we can draft a small insight. If I can run a mile, I will have more energy to play with my young kids. That generates an impetus for action. Or maybe our family doctor told us it's a requirement for a lifestyle change, or an incentive pops up to spur us on. But a funny, unusual thing can happen in experiencing this new task. When we go for that initial run, might be it doesn't feel good. And it remains the same till to the next run, or the run after that. Our muscles hurt, our bodies get stress that is not experienced earlier, we sweat and we hate to sweat. The money we have spent on the new hobby causes friction in our household and challenge our financial situation, making us to think that why I am investing on it. The schedule keeps us from the quality time we used to spend catching up with friends. It creates compound effect, continuing to signal all the reasons we should go back to the way it was before. When our muscles didn't hurt, when we grabbed drinks with our friends. When we did not fight with our partners over spending $100 a month on a gym membership. So again, the question is, how do we do hard things when our brains are constantly forcing us to avoid effort? Do not think out of the box. Do not go out of your comfort zone. First and very initial point. Tackle yourself and bring yourself in a good mood. Get to know yourself and set the goals with the timelines. Make practically reachable goals. Keep yourself positive and, forcing yourself to achieve your goal, just focus on the results. A recent psychological analysis study conducted by the University of Bradford found that when people are upset, they are less likely to try to do hard things. They try to hide themselves in their shells like snails. When they are feeling upbeat, however, they are more likely to take on the hard but essential tasks that ultimately make life better. They got the tremendous energy even to challenge themselves. One way we can get ourselves in the right mindset is to do what is called reappraisal, in which we create a shift in our brain of how we perceive a task and outlined it for ourselves with our own calculated pros and cons. Reappraisal can be incredibly effective when we choose one simple, sticky word or phrase that labels where we want to be. For example, literally saying to yourself, "I am going to feel better once I get this new process down on the paper," might be enough to get your brain out of an unproductive loop. Second most important point, we must give our brains the right amount of autonomy. When we have a choice, our brains often want to default to something easy. But we can mitigate that response by challenging ourselves to be innovative and provide incentives. For example, instead of debating whether to make a healthy choice at lunch, just ask yourself, do I want this fresh salad that's going to give me energy? Or this donut that I felt sick after eating last time and made me sleepy? Put into a work context, do I want to experiment with a new project management tool? This new tool that might make things easier for my team next week. Do I want to stick with the same spreadsheet that a former employee established that none of us feel great about anyway? Last but not least, we can accomplish hard things by practicing the habits of a growth mindset and notice when we revert to old ways of thinking and behaving. To challenge patterns or systems that enable or inhibit new habits from taking hold, it is helpful to have the support of others. One way to do that is by sharing stories of trying, inspiring, motivating in a setting where attempts are prized as much as the results. I want to share with you an example from my last training. The team of executives in a renowned bank recently tried to block off their mornings from meetings to get their best work done. Some individuals thrived, while others preferred to do their deep thinking in the afternoon. A month after experimenting with the scheduling, the team decided it wasn't working well because of conflicting time zones and opted for a different tactic, only making Monday morning free of meetings. By acknowledging the progress made by trying a new habit, the team was able to continue experimenting, instead of just reverting back to old ways. Doing things that feel uncomfortable to us and like hard work can seem counterintuitive. But important is understanding what is going on in your brain, instead of in your gut. You can work toward accomplishing hard things and manage your fears better. The quick summary is when we are tired or stressed, then our brains want to save mental energy and help us make decisions quickly. We are wired to move toward things that make us feel good and away from things that make us feel uncomfortable. Our brains tag the effort as bad, because the effort is connected to the hard work, and we are more likely to go with our gut instead of carefully considering all the available information. So how do we do hard things when our brains are constantly telling us to avoid effort? Try these 3 tips that are discussed in this podcast. I hope you all enjoyed this podcast and learned something new. Please give your feedback in comment section and subscribe to our channel, Audiobooks Junkie. Thank you.